Welcome to Never Not Sailing. I'm Danielle and this is Tyler, or Captain Woodsy. Our sailing journey began from Adelaide with grand dreams to cross the Great Australian Bight and see how far we could get in a year. Turns out, the Southern Ocean is a fickle beast and we couldn't achieve what we set out to do. So we're on to plan B, which is to explore West Australia by land before heading to Europe to see what kind of mischief we can manage there. Join us every Sunday as the irony of calling ourselves Never Not Sailing grows, because what happens next, nobody knows.
You excited?
Yep. We have just arrived in Belfast off of the ferry and we're heading into the city centre to find our accommodation and to get settled because we're going to be here for 3 days. But I'm feeling really excited because I've never been to Northern Ireland before. Have you?
Never before in my life.
To the north or to the Republic?
Never to this island they call Ireland.
The island called Ireland. Good afternoon, hello. It's our first day in Belfast and I'm on my own because I left the camera back at our accommodation. So we walked half an hour into town and then realised, so I've walked the half hour back to the accommodation and now I'm nearly back with Tyler again. So, you know, getting those steps up. I'm feeling a little out of sorts today, I think, which is why I forgot the camera. It's my dad's birthday. He would have been 77 years old today. He died a few years back and it's a little weird. The last time I was in Ireland he was alive and it's strange to be in Ireland on his birthday. He's not born in Belfast but he was born in Ireland, so feeling a little odd. But I'll have a pint for him today. And we're also going to go to the Titanic exhibition. Ooh, disco, bloody disco. So we're going to go check out the Titanic exhibition because the Irish built Titanic. So we're going to learn a little bit more about that and see what the day brings. This was sitting on the table when I met Tyler after returning with the camera. You may forget things, don't forget I love you. You may leave things behind, just know that I will never leave you. Fucking hell, man. Streets of Belfast. Show off your new shoes, cutie. Look, look, look. Did you know that you're going to be a trendsetter when you set out on this adventure together?
Did you intend to rhyme that?
Pardon?
Did you intend to rhyme that?
No, I'm just effortlessly brilliant when I'm not leaving shit behind. Oh wait, my glasses. Oh. What a 10. What an absolute 10.
Hello.
How's that sound garden?
Need some oil. Maybe I've missed it on that.
Need some
Like
WD-40.
Need some WD-40.
What does WD-40 stand for?
Water displacement 40%.
Yes. Good lad, good lad.
At the time of building the Titanic, Belfast was the epicenter of shipbuilding in the world. Harland and Wolff, the builders of the Titanic, were absolutely dominating the market at the time. At its peak, 14,000 men were building ships in Belfast. 8 people died during the construction of the Titanic. Now, when the Titanic went down, over 1,500 people died. Of those, only 300 people were recovered. The wreck at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean could only be around till 2030 due to steel-eating bacteria eating away at the wreckage. Violet Jessup, one of the survivors of the Titanic sinking, is a very lucky person because she also survived the sinking of the sister ship Britannica, the only known person to have done so.
I remembered in the exhibition a song that my mum used to sing to me, and I haven't sung it to Charlie yet, but I sang the opening line. You said that you didn't know what it was.
Never heard it before.
And so you think that my mum's made it up?
Yeah.
We'll have to do some research.
Could be totally invented. Sing it for me.
Oh, there was a ship Titanic to sail the ocean blue, and they thought they had a ship that the water would never go through, but by God's mighty hand saw that ship would never land. It was sad when that great ship went down. It was sad, it was sad, it was sad, mighty sad. It was sad when that great ship went down. Husbands and wives, little children lost their lives. It was sad when that great ship went down. And my mum would sing it really joyfully, but I'm realising how
Yeah, it's super sad.
problematic that was.
You're like smiling, talking about the death of all these people.
Come on now. Oh, great.
So we've got some random keel there. No idea what that's all about. Some bulbous keel bullshit. But this nomadic, tell us about it, Danielle. Or should I tell them about it?
Titanic's tender.
But specifically,
You tell them.
specifically, the nomadic, was designed for the landing of Titanic in Cherbourg. So it's actually registered and named to Cherbourg, France, rather than to any of the places that the Titanic left from in London, whether that be Belfast or Southampton. And what's incredible is that this is the tender, and those that watch a bit of sailing and have seen our sailing channel will see our tender, and you compare it to this beast.
This is anything but a dinghy.
Yeah, I don't think an inflatable will get by. Just cannot help ourselves, just keep finding ourselves on boats.
There's plenty of port left in the can.
It's on autopilot, you can't turn it.
You never let me drive.
Classic autopilot, can you say it?
You never let me steer, yeah.
I think it's also suggesting don't move the wheel.
What a stitch up.
Oh, this is Game of Thrones. It looks heaps nautical.
Game of Thrones filmed in, can you
That,
see this
that yellow and
yellow and grey
thingy.
monstrosity?
There.
Yeah. That's called the Titanic Studios, and that's where Game of Thrones filmed.
There you go. Oh, you can do Game of Thrones tours here, but neither of us are fucking losers.
I think we've proven that to be untrue.
Absolutely untrue. Some dragon bullshit. Meliandra? Hey Danielle,
Yeah.
check out that clock.
You look good, mate. Yeah.
How frustrating.
Go on, it's ready.
Is it?
Yeah. Sweet nectar of life. Happy?
Yeah. What? I'm not done yet.
Hello, good morning. I made a little friend in Belfast yesterday. Her name is Laura. I figured if you don't make friends, you're gonna make enemies, and then that can be problematic. On a more serious note, we are heading out today to do a black cab taxi tour around Belfast to learn more about the Troubles. So for those of you who don't know, Northern Ireland is actually separate to the Republic of Ireland. The Republic of Ireland, where Dublin is a separate country entirely. So there was lots of civil conflict over 100 years ago when the Irish kicked the English out and for independent rule, but there were a lot of people in Northern Ireland who wanted to stay a part of the United Kingdom, and so they did. They separated, and so the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland is a separate entity entirely. And there's an agreement where if you are from the north, you're still entitled to get an Irish passport, or you can get a British passport that says the United Kingdom of Britain and Northern Ireland. So it's really up to the individual and your political and your religious beliefs about how you identify here in the territory of Ireland, so Northern Ireland and the Republic. I'm going to do a tour today because I've never been to the north of Ireland. My family's from Cork. I'm an Irish citizen from the Republic. And while I grew up hearing stories about the Troubles, I've never been up here myself to learn about it. So off we go. Say goodbye, Laura. Bye. And we're meeting with Jim today. Jim?
Jim, yep.
Nice to meet you. The Troubles began in the late 1960s when civil rights activists tried to stop Protestant Unionists, who make up the majority of Northern Ireland, from discriminating against Catholic nationalist minorities. The British Army was sent in to suppress protests and remained throughout Northern Ireland for 30 years. We spent our time with Jim driving around the segregated neighbourhoods of Belfast. We learnt about the brutal killings by the IRA against Protestant Unionists and the violence and subjugation by Unionists and the British Army against Catholics.
Bobby Sands, so it was 8 of them though, wasn't it?
10 of them.
10 of them.
10 of them, 1981. Yep.
So why is Bobby Sands the one that's remembered? Was he the ringleader?
He was the first one to go on the hunger strike, and he was also elected as a member of Parliament in Westminster. He became an MP from the local prison cell.
Yeah, wow.
So you'll see on the wall Bobby Sands, MP, member of Parliament.
Do these murals get like touched up and maintained? Yeah.
This one here does. The photograph doesn't change, it stays the same, but it's touched up. Coming up to Easter time, with the commemoration of the Easter Rising. In 1976, Kieran Nugent walked into Kieran Nugent's prison cell in 1976 and put a uniform in it. A prison uniform, told me how to wear it. If you put a prison uniform on you, you're classed as a criminal. They weren't there for criminality. They wanted the right to wear their own clothes and what was known as political status. Right to see their loved ones, 12-5 to man. Were parcels being sent in, better conditions, and not to be doing any work by the Prison Association while they were detained. Before we went on hunger strike in 1981, they were on a dirty protest first with Kieran Nugent. They didn't wash 1976, the dirty protest started, didn't wash, didn't shave, didn't use any prison facilities, urinated in their cells, and they spread all their excrement all over the walls. That dirty protest, everyone on it became known as the Blanket Men because they refused to wear prison day uniform, nothing else on them, only an old blanket. Dirty protest 1976, right through to 1981. They were 5 years on a blanket. The conditions were appalling. They knew that they weren't going anywhere with that protest. They needed to send a message to Margaret Thatcher, the Prime Minister at that time, the Iron Lady, that they want the political status. The only alternative left was to use their body.
Learning about the hunger strikes by imprisoned Republicans was one of the most confronting parts of the tour, as well as learning that separate neighbourhoods still function as almost gated communities that close at 6:30 every night to stop any potential violence between the two sides. cultures or
You need to start with children. You need more integrated schools for children that they enjoy. Cliftonville Primary was made integrated there about 5 or 6 years ago. It is working, so it is.
So it's just a state school with no religious affiliations.
That's where you have to start with
Yeah.
the children. If you want your child to go to a mixed school, it happens in the city centre, but you have to pay for that education. All about it. This is the main peace wall here in West Belfast. Bill Clinton signed it in 1995. So he did. Nelson Mandela has been to it. Dalai Lama.
The Troubles came to an end in 1998 with the signing of the Good Friday Agreement. There was finally a true ceasefire where the IRA gave up their guns and the British Army left. While the peace wall that was built in 1969 to curb violent outbreaks is now signed with messages of peace and love, barricades still remain across Belfast and throughout Northern Ireland. It is uncertain whether they will ever come down.
It says these walls would all be removed in 2023, so that's not going to happen.
G'day, good morning. This is Tyler and Danielle.
You're on the same vibe again today.
Today we're doing the history of the Troubles as experienced by the Derry people or Londonderry people, depending on the side of the border you're from. So which way does it go? Londonderry is the British side.
So Londonderry is technically the name of the town or city, I guess. But it's a city that's really close to the border and has a really strong divide between the Catholics on Bogside, who identify themselves as people from Derry, and then the Protestants on Waterside, who recognise themselves as coming from Londonderry, and they have allegiance to the British Crown. But this is where the trouble started, and we're going to do a tour today to learn more about it. But there was 3 days of rioting, essentially. When the Troubles began, the British Army came in, the Battle of Bogside, or Bloody Sunday. You might have heard the U2 song. This is what it refers to. So a terrible time. The filming of Derry Girls is here, and that's why it's called Derry Girls and not Londonderry. When we came in yesterday, the very first sign, you could see that London was crossed out in Londonderry and then spray painted back on as London. So it's a pretty interesting introduction into the town. But like Belfast, Derry's history is captured in murals, but unlike Belfast, there is a majority Catholic population in the city, which is why it was such a hotbed of conflict. Our tour guide Paul Doherty's father was killed during Bloody Sunday. Patrick Doherty was one of the many civilian deaths committed by the British Army. As well as running the tours and being heaps passionate about telling visitors about what happened in Derry, Paul has spent his whole life as a political activist, seeking better treatment for Catholics in Derry and justice for the events of Bloody Sunday. "40 years later, with Paul in attendance, the British government finally publicly apologised for the atrocities that happened on Bloody Sunday. A peace bridge across the River Foyle has been built to join the two sides of the city, the two sides of the conflict. It's constructed in a curved line to show the road to peace isn't easy, and there's still work to be done. Catch us next week as we finish our tour of Northern Ireland by driving Giant's Causeway, and then we head over to the Republic. First stop, Donegal. Thanks heaps for watching, and a special thanks to Jim from the Black Cab Taxi Tour in Belfast and Paul from the Bogside History Tours in Derry. Remember to click all the things and take care of yourselves. Until we see you next time on Never Not Sailing.